Driving while being distracted by any activity. A. Is never dangerous. B. Usually causes the driver to react more slowly to hazards. C. Usually causes the driver to drive faster. D. Is only dangerous for young drivers. B. Usually causes the driver to react more slowly to hazards. Distractions cause drivers to react more slowly to traffic and hazards on the roadway. Distracted driving is never safe. You may not park within. Fill in the blank. Of a crosswalk or intersection. A. 10 feet. B. 25 feet. C. 50 feet. D. 100 feet. A. 10 feet. There are many areas where a driver cannot park. You may not park within 10 feet of a crosswalk or intersection. Unless otherwise posted, the speed limit in a school zone is A. 20 miles per hour. B. 40 miles per hour. C. 55 miles per hour. D. 70 miles per hour. A. 20 miles per hour. Maximum speed limits indicate the fastest speed a driver may legally drive under ideal conditions. The maximum speed limit in a school zone is 20 miles per hour, unless otherwise posted. Always drive with extra caution when driving in a school zone. When getting ready to change lanes, you should A. Check your side view mirror. B. Check your rear view mirror. C. Quickly turn your head to check for other vehicles. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. Before changing lanes, check your side and rearview mirrors for traffic approaching you from behind. Just before you begin moving into the other lane, quickly glance over your shoulder and check for any vehicles that may be in your blind spot.
Want to ace your DMV test? Click on the link below and get your guaranteed cheat sheet.
You are coming to an intersection with a flashing yellow light. You should A. Stop and wait for the light to change. B. Make a U-turn because the intersection is closed. C. Drive carefully through the intersection. D. Prepare to stop, the light is about to turn red. C. Drive carefully through the intersection. A flashing yellow light means that you should proceed through the intersection slowly and with caution. Scan your eyes across traffic in both directions. You must yield for emergency vehicles? A. Under no circumstances. B. When you see a flashing red or blue light or hear a siren. C. Only when other vehicles yield. D. None of the above. B. When you see a flashing red or blue light or hear a siren. You must yield the right of way to any emergency vehicle that is using its siren or flashing lights. Distracted drivers are at a greater risk of a crash when they are using which of the following? A. CD player. B. Radio. C. Cell phone. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. Using a cell phone, including a hands-free phone, or any kind of audio device, including a radio or CD player, can be a dangerous distraction and contributes to the risk of a crash. When you see this sign, it means A. There is an object on the roadway. B. Traffic is coming from the right. C. The road is curving sharply to the left. D. There is a merge point ahead. C. The road is curving sharply to the left. Chevron signs like this indicate that the road curves sharply in the direction indicated by the chevron, in this case, to the left. There may be several chevron signs placed throughout a curve. Your body gets rid of approximately A. 3 alcoholic drinks an hour. B. 1 alcoholic drink an hour. C. 2 alcoholic drinks an hour. D. None of the above. B. 1 alcoholic drink an hour. The average person's body will process about 1 alcoholic drink in 1 hour. However, many factors play a part in determining how impaired a person will become when consuming alcohol, including the amount of alcohol consumed, how fast it is consumed, and a person's body weight, food intake, and general health. The consumption of alcohol while taking drugs can A. Decrease the effects of the drugs and alcohol. B. Increase the effects of both the drugs and alcohol. C. Help cure your illness. D. Improve your driving ability. B. Increase the effects of both the drugs and alcohol. The combination of alcohol and drugs, in some cases, can increase the effects of both the drugs and alcohol. It can be unsafe to drive after consuming either alcohol or drugs and is even more dangerous after combining them. This road sign means A. Slow down or stop. B. Stop, if necessary. C. You must come to a complete stop. D. Drive with caution and be ready to stop. C. You must come to a complete stop. An 8-sided sign always means, stop. You must come to a complete stop and wait for any vehicles or pedestrians to clear the way before proceeding. When changing lanes, you can check your blind spots by A. Using the inside rearview mirror. B. Using the outside rearview mirror. C. Using both inside and outside rearview mirrors. D. Turning your head and looking over your shoulder. D. Turning your head and looking over your shoulder. You should turn your head to check your blind spots before every lane change. When parking uphill on a hill or incline with a curb. A. Turn your front wheels sharply toward the curb. B. Turn your front wheels slightly to the right. C. Turn your front wheels sharply away from the curb. D. Keep your front wheels straight. C. Turn your front wheels sharply away from the curb. To keep your vehicle from rolling into traffic when parked facing uphill, turn your front wheels sharply away from the curb. If you are parking uphill on a street that has no curb, turn the wheels sharply toward the edge of the road. An end school zone sign indicates A. That the speed limit is 20 miles per hour. B. The beginning of a reduced speed zone. C. The increased possibility of encountering pedestrians. D. The end of a reduced speed zone. D. The end of a reduced speed zone. Do not exceed the school zone speed limit during indicated times. The end of a reduced speed school zone will be indicated by an end school zone regulatory sign. The most effective safety restraints in a traffic crash are A. Only a lap and shoulder belt. B. Only an airbag. C. Both a lap, shoulder belt and an airbag. D. No safety restraints. C. Both a lap, shoulder belt and an airbag. Safety belts can double your chance of surviving a crash and more than double your chance of avoiding serious injury. Airbags, when used properly with safety belts, provide additional protection in a front-end crash. You should wear both shoulder and lap belts. At dusk or on overcast days, you should A. Drive using your four-way flashers. B. Drive using your parking lights. C. Not turn on any vehicle lights. D. Turn on your headlights. D. Turn on your headlights. At dusk or on overcast days, you must turn on your headlights. Dim your lights to their low beam setting when within 1,000 feet of an approaching vehicle and when within 500 feet of a vehicle that you are following. When driving in poor weather, always use your low beams. This sign means A. A left curve is ahead. B. A series of curves is ahead. C. An S curve is ahead. D. The road will be slippery when wet. D. The road will be slippery when wet. This sign warns that especially slippery conditions exist when the road is wet. You are waiting to turn left at a multi-lane intersection and opposing traffic is blocking your view. You should A. Accelerate rapidly when the first lane you need to cross is clear. B. Wait until you can see all the lanes you need to cross before going ahead with your turn. C. Wait for an oncoming driver to wave you across the intersection. D. Edge your car into each lane of opposing traffic as soon as it clears. B. Wait until you can see all the lanes you need to cross before going ahead with your turn. You should never start a left turn until you can see that all the lanes you need to cross are clear and that you can safely make the turn. When approached by an emergency vehicle that is using its siren and/or flashing lights, a driver must immediately A. Pull to the right and stop. B. Pull to the right and slow down. C. Pull to the right and turn on their vehicle's four-way flashers. D. Stop and let the emergency vehicle pass. A. Pull to the right and stop. When you are approached by an emergency vehicle that is using its lights, sirens, and/or other warning devices, you must immediately drive to the right side of the road and stop. If an oncoming driver is heading toward you in your lane, you should A. Blow your horn, steer right, and accelerate. B. Blow your horn, steer left, and brake. C. Blow your horn, steer right, and brake. D. Stay in the center of your lane, blow your horn, and brake. C. Blow your horn, steer right, and brake. If another vehicle is approaching you head-on in your lane, you should first honk your horn to attract attention. If the other driver does not move over, try to escape to the right. If you swerve left and the other driver corrects at the last instant, you will still crash. If a collision is unavoidable, brake firmly and steadily. Every mile per hour you slow down will reduce the impact. You are coming to an intersection and have a green light. Pedestrians are crossing against the red. You should A. Honk your horn. B. Speed up and pass in front of the pedestrians. C. Stop to let the pedestrians cross safely. D. Drive close to the pedestrians and frighten them so they'll think twice before crossing against a red light. C. Stop to let the pedestrians cross safely. Yield to pedestrians and cars that may be caught in an intersection when you have a green light. Be careful around pedestrians under every circumstance. Fluorescent yellow-green signs indicate A. School zones. B. Hospitals. C. Speed limits. D. Railroad crossings. A. School zones. Fluorescent yellow-green is used as the background color for pedestrian, bicycle, and school warning signs. Use extra caution when driving around these signs. When you need to change lanes, it is important to A. Signal your intentions ahead of the lane change. B. Check your blind spot. C. Make sure the lane is clear before entering. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. Always signal for an appropriate amount of time before making a lane change or exiting a freeway. Before you make any move to the right or left, quickly turn your head and look over your shoulder to see if your blind spot is clear. Motorcycles are entitled to A. The bicycle lane. B. The same full lane width as other motor vehicles. C. Half the width of a lane. D. The width of the sidewalk. B. The same full lane width as other motor vehicles. Lane usage for the motorcyclist is critical. Motorcycles are entitled to the same full lane width as all other vehicles. Blood alcohol content (BAC) depends on each of the following, except A. Your body weight. B. How much you drink. C. How much time passes between drinks. D. How physically fit you are. D. How physically fit you are. Your blood alcohol content (BAC) depends on how much alcohol you drink, how much time passes between drinks, and your weight. It is not affected by the type of alcoholic beverages you drink, your level of physical fitness, or how well you can hold your liquor.